going on, everybody? We're going to be going over my top 5 modifications slash performance upgrades that you can do to your 4th gen Cummins to just make it better and just last longer. And that's kind of the point of these whole trucks, is to last long. You know, they're Cummins, they're great engines. They'll go, you know, 500,000 to 1,000,000 miles if you take care of them. So today we're going to go over my top 5 performance modifications slash reliability modifications. All right, guys, so for number 1, my first pick that I would recommend any new Cummins owner would do to their truck, to their 6.7 Cummins specifically, is up in here under the hood, you have what's called a grid heater. And if you're not familiar with it, it's a little electric piece of wire and a nut basically that goes down into your intake. And what it does is when you turn the key on, if you're in a cold climate, it will heat up the air that's coming into the intake. So what happens is on a lot of these 4th gen Cummins is the little nut actually corrodes and it shorts itself out and it falls into your cylinders, and it can ruin a whole engine, and it's just a nightmare. So if you don't live in a cold climate like I do out here in sunny South Florida, you can go to Pusher Intakes is the one I have specifically. Pusher Intakes offers a grid heater delete plate, and the install is pretty simple if you're a, you know, mechanically inclined like myself. I did it in about an hour. Other people, you know, you'll see on YouTube in other videos, it'll take them a little bit longer, but for me, it only took me about an hour. You basically have to remove your whole fuel rail, take it out, you take your intake horn off, and you just unbolt the grid heater, pull it out, put the new plate on. It comes with a new gasket, and you reuse the old hardware, put it on, and you, 1, get more airflow through because there's no more grid there, and 2, you never have to worry about that bolt falling off and getting into your cylinders and making for a bad day, really. Coming in at number 2, kind of in the same area, you might have seen it before. At number 1, we were talking about the grid heater. This is the Pusher intake horn. So if you are deleted, which we'll get to later in the video, if you are deleted, you can remove this, the factory intake horn, which is very restrictive. And as you can see, this one has very nice elongated bends, so the air really comes in smoothly. And as you can see, it's wider on both sides. Instead, it's not restrictive like the factory intake horn is. So I don't have one to show you side-by-side comparison. I've installed this a little while ago, and on the bottom of them, these are relatively inexpensive. I think I've got this for around $200 maybe a year ago. I don't know what they cost now, don't quote me on that, but I got the intake horn and the grid heater delete plate from Pusher Intakes. I will leave a link in the bio to where you can pick these up. I recommend it. It gives you more airflow, and you know, come on guys, it just looks cooler. It's red. Last one under the hood comes in at number 3. This is an S&B cold air intake. Not necessarily cold air because it's under the hood, but this is supposed to have a little cover on it. I took it off just because you can hear the turbo a little bit more with it. Give you a little bit more airflow. It's a removable filter. You can clean it. You know, it doesn't really give you that much power gain, but it is, you know, it looks cool. It looks nice. It sounds nice when you get under load. And it just offers more airflow, and it's not as restrictive all the way down to the turbo. So that'd be my number 3 modification to do to the truck. And yeah, we'll continue on from here. I'm a liar. Coming in at number 4 under the hood. Not number 3. Number 4, last one, this time I promise. Number 4 under the hood is an EGR and DPF delete. You also have to tune it as well. This is probably going to be the most expensive upgrade and modification you can do to your truck as a beginner starting out. Basically what it does is it reflashes the ECU and tells your truck not to use the EGR, which is the exhaust gas recirculation, and the DPF, which is your diesel particulate filter, which is under the truck on the passenger side attached to the exhaust. So on these trucks, when they come factory, the exhaust gases, all that soot, all that black smoke that you see these trucks put out, it recirculates it back into the intake after it goes through the EGR cooler, which cools the exhaust gases. And your truck's basically sucking its own fart, which I only do that to your mom, but I don't want my truck doing that. You know, it's just not cool. And it kills your fuel economy. After my tune and delete, I'm averaging, if I drive responsibly and not like a teenager, I get approximately 20 to 22 miles per gallon city driving decently and not doing much idling. And on the highway, on long drives, I've seen upwards to almost 30 miles per gallon in my Tune 5 position, which I'll show you here in a second. But tune and delete would be probably my #1 modification I would save for. Other than that, the other things are relatively inexpensive in the grand scheme of things. You can do this yourself. You can tune and delete it yourself. You can buy kits online. It's not hard. Anyone can do it. I would urge you to do it yourself, because if you take it to a shop, you know, they will charge you quite a bit of money for it. So I will go into the cab here in a second and I will show you the tuner, the switch that comes with the tuner, and I'll show you that here in a second. So under my dash here, I have this, by the way, I forgot to mention before, my tune is through EasyLink. This is an EasyLink tune through GDP tuning. This is a 5-position selectable switch. So you go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So each tune is a horsepower setting over stock. So I don't remember off the top of my head what all of them are on this specific tune file, but I know #1 is about 20 horsepower over stock. So it's slightly modified, and this truck has a 68 RFE transmission, which comes with trans tuning abilities. So any tune that you get will more than likely also tune your transmission. So it'll increase line pressure and shift points and whatnot. And it takes a little bit of relearning with the transmission once you get the tune file installed and running. Tune 5, I run it in a lot. I run it in most of the time in Tune 5. I wouldn't suggest it unless you have a very responsible foot. I don't drive like a teenager all the time. You know, sometimes I like to get on it, but you know, these transmissions are pretty sensitive and I can't afford a new one right now. So I ride in Tune 5 only because it is the most fuel efficient tune. This is where I've seen my upwards to 30 miles per gallon on the highway cruising. But it also is very dangerous because it is 180 horsepower over stock. So I know that Tune 5 is a 180 over stock, and I know Tune 1 is about 20 or 30 over stock. It's nothing crazy. It is fun. You will go fast, but it can be dangerous, so just be careful. Make sure you don't ruin anything. And going back to the delete, I mentioned earlier, it deletes your DPF, which is your diesel particulate filter, which if you've ever looked under the truck, coming along your exhaust here, you had a humongous big canisters and all this other bull crap that the government says you have to have on there. That's what I think. Anyways, with your delete kit, if you buy it from online, it will usually give you an option to come with a full exhaust, or you can just do a delete pipe to where it's just over the back half, or I optioned for the full 5-inch exhaust. So from the turbo back all the way to the tailpipe is a 5-inch exhaust. I did a little custom work and did a side exit because I think it looks cool. It sounds pretty mean at the end. Completely 100% 5-inch straight pipe all the way out to here from the turbo. So I will go ahead and turn the truck on and give you guys a little clip of what that sounds like. That wraps it up for number 4, and number 5's a boring one, but it will save you tons of money in the long run. Coming in at number 5, the last one, is very small, it's very inexpensive, but it does offer a great insurance policy against these 68 RFE transmissions. And we're gonna come down here. I'm on the passenger side of the truck. Under here, we got this little piece right here. This is called a thermal bypass. This is a upgraded one I got from ATS. These are, well, what used to be here, it looks about the same. This is basically your thermostat for your transmission fluid. So inside, I don't remember the exact temperature that these open up at. I want to say it's 175. If I had to, I think it's 175. Don't quote me on that. There's a little ball in here. It's like a ball check. And then when the fluid on the transmission side heats up to 175 degrees or whatever the temperature is, the ball will open and it will allow the the transmission fluid to go through your transcooler, your radiator, and come back into the pan once it's cool. Now, the problem with these is on these 68 RFEs, these have been known to get stuck and clogged and fail and not open. So if you're not monitoring your transmission fluid temperature, it will not open and it will overheat your transmission. And the absolute worst thing for these automatic 68 RFEs is heat. Heat is a #1 killer to these trucks. It's a #1 killer and degradation to transmission fluid, period. So especially automatic transmissions. Heat is a #1 killer, do not forget that. This keeps it open all the time. It is a straight through block. There's nothing inside. So normally my transmission, before I installed this on the highway, would sit roughly around 175 to 190. You know, that would be like the operating temperature, which is okay. That's not too hot, but I wanted to play it safe, get this installed. And after I installed it, all the time, no matter if I'm towing a car, towing heavy, just normal driving, my transmission stays between 135 to about 165, I think is the warmest I've seen it. That's down here in Florida during the summer when it's almost 100 degrees out. I just came back from Georgia driving up and down the mountains during the summer, and my transmission never got above, 160, 165. It's very good. A lot of people think like, well, your transmission fluid won't heat up enough to be driving, be drivable and be good, but I've yet to have a problem. I've had this installed for about a year. Again, I got this from ATS Transmissions. I will put a link to them in the bio as well. So just keep that in mind. I think this was $50 or $60. It's not expensive. You can do it yourself. You will need to buy a little bit of transmission fluid, maybe about a jug. A gallon, because when you remove these fittings, you do lose some dang, I can't talk today. You can lose some transmission fluid out of these lines, but it's nothing crazy. So just have like a little catch pan, or install it. I think this took me maybe 10 minutes to install. Not hard at all. There's a bunch of YouTube videos on there on how to do it. That's how I did mine. If you don't do anything else in this video, I would 100% do this, because these new transmissions are very, very expensive to get fixed and to replace. But if you take care of them, they'll take care of you, and I haven't had any issues with mine yet. Knock on wood. All right, y'all. That concludes my video today of my top 5 performance/reliability upgrades due to your 4th gen Cummins. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, drop me a like, comment, follow, whatever. If you hated it, tell me in the comments. Tell me how I can make it better. But appreciate you guys sticking around to the end and watching. And if you got any questions, you can always comment. I'll try to answer as many as I can. I don't anticipate getting many comments, so I'm sure I'll answer every single one of them. So I appreciate you guys watching, and see you guys in the next one. Thanks.